Inhale. Om Namo Guru
To God, Satguru Sri Gurudev, to God, Satguru Sri Gurudev, Satguru to God, Satguru Sri Gurudev.
Breathe. Hard breath. And breathe. And now, Japa Saraswati, can you read this thing?
All right. The Yugas explained. Asha Nayaswami. Tune in. Message. Dear light workers, Wowee, Wahe Guru. Here, finally, we understand what happens for the Aquarian Age. I have understood only pieces from yoga knowledge or astrology is about the 4 yugas or ages in why we have this changing or transformation for us and Earth. And now we know about yugas to see about this video. Asha Nayaswami is her wonderful teacher from the Self-Realization Fellowship from Yogananda. If you see the picture on her right, that is from Babaji. His source is from that spiritual lineage. I suspect that is also from our own Baba Siri Chand. Yes.
Okay.
Several videos ago, perhaps from Dr. Clements and Pam Gregory, we saw about this. The ETs who are our human sources tied to evolve our humans naturally within us to become our God selves. But instead, humans had devolved from our last present dark age, Kali Yuga, Piscean Age, with enough dark EDS knowledge to blow us up for the whole earth. And that would have been such a terrible situation for the whole galaxy. So ETs decided that with this changing time of the Aquarian New Age Yuga, with this cosmic time, ETs would help us humans to become clear, more and better genes, and be able to let go of Earth human karmas. Quit the human's karmic wheel on Earth. But since we have free will, each human would need to have permission from ourselves to change. And of course we use, coherent heart breath to change heal from ETs. Then they can transform our energetic karmas to be our true consciousness. With all of this is able to truly transform/evolve our earthlings toward our next level of human God being, Vaheguru. So here's a link to the video. It's gone to all of our text messages. And then do you want to save this part of the reading for when we get there? So
Yes.
that, okay. So I'll stop the share and start the video.
Oh, no, no. Just continue reading.
Okay. Then please ask Aagia Pal for heart pumping. 1 minute with heart pumping, heart breath with breath of fire. Then about Aagia Pal teach Dynamite Diamond Meditation. Use the 2 parts for this meditation for Dynamite Diamond. 1 minute, begin heart breath, listen from your divine intelligent voice to decide who or what will move toward your Healy's meditation. Your Healy could be either from another Healy or from yourself, or your focus might even change from different Healys during the meditation. 3 minutes. Strongly focus from your third eye energies to direct your diamond light beam that looks like a small, brilliant, compact, laser like power light dot, your diamond. That seems to come from the center of your universe. That energetic diamond is toward your Healy. If you need to have too much energy power from your third eye, dynamite, then change to use less energetic power by using heart breath. Don't blow your circuits, but continue to keep up your meditation. Then Siri-Gian will lead Consciousness No Reality meditation. So we'll do 5 minutes of CNR, Consciousness No Reality, strong heart breath, belly breath, nose inhalation for 6 seconds, nose exhale for 6 seconds. From out of your heart center, complete love, slide from fear, let go from any of your nasty, difficult old stuff. Just be peace. No normal reality, no thinking, no everyday self. Be present, but only feel, just be light. Then 2 minutes to become awareness and understand what happened from everyday self. Use your notes, listen and share. Lots of love, Siri-Gian.
Okay. So here we're ready for video.
Okay. Please do heart breath while I search it up.
Okay. Hi, Harimandir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to be talking about a subject that is, in certain ways, quite extreme from the way everybody thinks. In other ways, I think it's one of the most helpful things for us to learn at this time. It's a greater explanation of what's going on in the world, the attitude we should hold, and how we can be contributors. I always speak with these 2 pictures in front of me. This is Paramhansa Yogananda. Many of you know him from his book, Autobiography of a Yogi. And this is his disciple, an American disciple who was my personal teacher. I met him when I was 22 in 1969, which was a long time ago. So I'm going to be giving you some big ideas, but they're not ideas that I myself made up. They're what Yogananda presented as the ancient teaching of India about the nature of the planet at this time, the future of the planet, and how our own personal karma and personal destiny plays out in that context. Almost everyone who thinks about civilization and progress on the planet thinks in extremely linear terms. And most common science and history is that we were Neanderthals and we came up in this straight line and here we are, I often would think if this is the apex, we are really in trouble. But that's how people think. And we also look now and we see that we have enormous conflicts and all kinds of circumstances, whether it's earth cataclysms, economic troubles, social troubles, everything. It's an extraordinarily insecure time that we're living in. In the last few years, I've traveled a lot around the world, really an astonishing amount. We've been in about 30 countries in the last 3 years. And everywhere I go, without exception, from Latvia to Finland to Japan to South Africa, people ask what is going on and what's going to happen. Paramhansa Yogananda was a great prophet and a great master of self-realization, and he predicted that the times we are in now are going to get worse before it's going to get better. And that's not a very comforting thought. And there have been many others who have also said the same thing. Mother Mary appearing in Medjugorje, Padre Pio in Italy, a very well-known Venezuelan woman, they all just say, we are in a time of enormous transition, but that transition is not going to be simple. It's not going to be harmonious, that the polarizing forces will create increasing tension and increasing troubles. Now, in his autobiography, Yogananda wrote about an ancient tradition that is not unique to India. In India has an unusual position on planet Earth because it is the only continuous civilization that has been essentially the same going back thousands of years. Yoga, meditation, the rishis, kundalini, changes of consciousness. The outer expression of that fundamental philosophy has changed over many years, but the teaching has never changed. Hinduism is a word that was actually a concept that was actually imposed on India by the British because they could tell that they were different, and the British think in terms of religion. They don't think in terms of eternal truths. So they called it Hindu because they were living by the Indus River. And so people began to think that what India represents, spiritually speaking, is Hinduism. But it's not true. What India represents is what's known as Sanatan Dharma. And many of you know the word Dharma. It means right action, but more subtly, what Dharma means is that action which helps expand your consciousness, because that's how you can tell what right action is. It isn't what society wants or what your family necessarily wants or how you can make more money or whatever it might be. It's that action which expands your consciousness. And added to that idea of Dharma is the word Sanatan, which essentially means eternal. The eternal truth of spiritual life, or my favorite definition, that which is. Because what we're trying to understand is not anybody's culture, anybody's theology, anybody's dogma or practices. We're trying to put ourselves in right relation to reality. And reality isn't a matter of opinion. It's a definite existing vibration that we experience within ourselves. And if you think about your progress, anything that you would call progress in your life, it's always because your awareness increases. Your formal education, you increase your awareness of literature or music or art or science or whatever you're studying. In your interpersonal relationships, you're increasing your awareness of how to get along with other people, how to understand yourself, what properly brings harmony and happiness and what doesn't. And if you just reflect for a moment on any stage in your life that went through some kind of challenge perhaps to then some kind of greater enlightenment, we've increased our awareness. And every time we increase our awareness, it's a surprise, isn't it? Because by definition, we weren't aware of it before. So you have to ask the obvious question, how much is in front of us that we don't yet know? And one of the things that we gradually learn as we increase our awareness, and it's very simple, it's that reality always wins. No matter how much we say, I don't have to exercise, I don't have to eat well, and I can drink as much as I like, and everything's going to work out, something always happens, doesn't it? Reality always wins. So it serves us to understand everything that we're experiencing from the point of view of that which is, because the more profoundly we can harmonize ourselves with that which is, the better off we'll be. So one of the understandings of Sanatana Dharma, which has always been there and has also been present in many other ancient civilizations that are no longer with us, but pieces of what they understood are still there. And that is that this planet that we're living on is not just, we're primitive and then we're endlessly better and better and then we just get better and better. It's that the evolution, the experience of the quality of civilization on this planet is circular. And the Egyptians called it the age of man, the age of heroes, the age of demigods, the age of gods, 4. And the Greeks, I believe, called it the iron, the bronze, the silver, and the golden. And the Indian tradition has 4 also. Kali Yuga, which means the dark age, which is the age where matter is considered to be the only reality. Dwapara, which is the second age, in which we understand that energy is the reality, that matter is an expression of energy. Does that sound familiar? Matter is an expression of energy, and the energy can take multiple forms. The third age, according to the Sanatana Dharma way of understanding, Treta, which simply means 3, is the age of the power of thought. And the fourth age is called Satya, and that's truth, and that is the power of spirit, of the divine coming through all consciousness and understood to be so. Now, the Indian tradition, which is what I'm going to talk about, talks about this, and it's very fascinating, really, and scientific research is beginning, or has to a large extent endorsed a large part of this. First, I have to add a few other pieces to this. When Swami Kriyananda was living with Yogananda, he asked Yogananda the simple question, and you have to have reincarnation in here too. Kriyananda asked his guru, he said, do we always incarnate on planet Earth? Do we just keep coming back? Is there some kind of eternal quality to being earthlings? Yogananda actually laughed at the possibility. He said there are countless inhabited planets, and between our incarnations, we're in the astral world. We have all those choices, and we go to the planet that is having a civilization that is the most helpful to us in working out our personal karma. Now, there's lots of definitions of karma, and let me just put this one in here. Everyone in the world is motivated by 2 realities, which is we wish to avoid suffering, and we have a very deep desire to be happy. Isn't that so? If you look at every single decision you made, the motivating force behind it was you thought it would decrease your suffering, you thought it would increase your happiness. In retrospect, many of those decisions were extremely stupid, but we didn't know it at the time. And that's how we learn, is that we're always, this is the equation we're always trying to balance. And this is how we gradually come into reality, because we know that suffering is not what's supposed to be happening, that we're supposed to be in a state of joy, in a state of bliss. So we make all these different decisions based on our understanding, and we find out how that works for you. You know, have you ever had one of your friends when you make the same mistake for the 150th time? And then they say to you, well, how's that working for you? You know, one of my friends asked me that when I was explaining some complicated attitude I was following. She just said, well, how is that working for you? I said, not very well. Then why do I keep doing it? I don't know. It seemed like a good idea at the time. That's all I can say. And what karma is an unlearned lesson about the nature of reality and what brings happiness and what causes suffering. I mean, I can go for hours giving you all kinds of, I won't today because I don't have time, but I can, all different aspects of it, but that's what it comes down to. And the drama of life is not civilizations. The drama is individual consciousness, because civilizations are just a reflection of individual consciousness. And our consciousness is always our own responsibility. Think about that. Whatever is going on around you, no matter how good or even how terrible it might be, all we ever experience is our inner world within it. That's why two people, if one is very depressed and one is not depressed, they'll see exactly the same circumstance and have 100% different experiences of it. And while we hear these remarkable stories of people, even in almost unbearably terrible circumstances, nonetheless manage somehow to rise above it, even to rise into a state of joy and compassion and kindness, because the real drama is our individual drama. And as we live and die and live and die and live and die, we leave the body, we go into the astral world, we survey all the possibilities, and we reincarnate in the place that's going to give us the experiences we need to increase our awareness and work out whatever karma we have left until we finally understand. So the capacity, talking now about planet Earth, scientists already know that at the center of our galaxy, there's an enormous, inexplicable amount of energy. And our scientific methods have not gotten strong enough or far enough to really understand that. Sanatana Dharma has always talked about at the center of the galaxy, there's this enormous fountain of energy that is not merely material energy, but also uplifting energy, the power to awaken, the power to make more subtle truths better known. And then Yogananda explains, our sun has a dual, and this is not woo-woo spirituality, this is astronomy. And once again, scientists are positing the same thing. And because of that dual, our solar system goes in an elliptical orbit. And that elliptical orbit takes us closer and then farther away from the central source of energy in our galaxy. And when our solar system, with planet Earth with it, gets closer to that center, the Earth itself receives many more enlightening energies than it receives when it's at the farthest point away from that. And so this planet, the energy field of this planet can sustain a more enlightened attitude and a greater understanding of reality when we're in the part of the orbit when we're closer to the galactic center. And in the same way, the farther away we get, the more the civilization begins to collapse. And all of these ages have been quantified very clearly. So now let me tell you, which everyone wants to know, where are we in the cycle? And also this whole cycle, moving closer and then moving farther away, it's a 24,000 year cycle. So you have 12,000 years where the civilization on this planet gets more and more enlightened. You reach a peak, and when you have Satya, the highest age here, it doesn't immediately drop to the lowest age. Rather, it goes from the peak of understanding, and then gradually that knowledge is lost. So it goes down like this, and then it goes backwards, the third age, the second age, the first age. So the nadir of this cycle was 500 years AD, after the death of Christ. Now, that's an interesting thing in itself, because that meant that Jesus incarnated at one of the lowest points, and it got worse afterwards. So it's important to understand, because we're not talking about, I'm an earthling, I'm going to cling to planet Earth for 24,000 years and then I'll be enlightened. It's not like that at all. The drama is individual. And even in the lowest point of civilization on the planet, individuals can still be fully enlightened because we have that freedom within it. It's just the world in which we live. So 500 AD was the nadir. That was the bottom of the lowest age going down, and then it started coming up the other side. And in the year 1700, it began to transition. And if you know even a little bit of history, people began to understand the nature of energy, kinds of energy, like steam, for example, as energy, or mechanical energy, instead of just physical, human energy. Prior to that, if you wanted to do anything with anything, you had a horse or you had a human body. But then they began to understand that there was more subtle kinds of energy that you could engage. Every age has a transition. So from 1700, it began to transition, and in 1900 is when Dwapara, the second age, the age of energy, really began. And it was right around that time that Einstein had a revelation. And he saw the nature of reality. And he said, it's not matter at all, it's energy. And the whole planet was changed by that. There's a cartoon that I saw once, and it was a street in New York about the turn of the century. And you saw all these different people who were on the street. You know, a mother was tending her baby, a street sweeper was cleaning up the street, a milkman was delivering the bottles, businessman's walking down the street. But all of them have paused. Just in the course of their everyday life, they've all paused like this. And the quote is from Einstein, and it says, mankind will gradually accustom themselves to an energy concept of the universe. So you see all these people gradually accustoming themselves to that energy concept, but you see what a difference it is? And so now, you know, we're like more than 100 years. Now think for a minute how everything has changed in the last 100+ years. Everything has changed. All of you are sitting with these, you know, bright blue or red or green ears right now, right? And you're listening to me, and those of you who are listening not in English are hearing a manufactured voice translate this. Who could possibly say we're not in a rising age where technology is just coming forward? And what is this all about? This is all about subtle forms of energy. And of course, what also happens in these ages is that individuals' conception of themselves, the whole concept of what it is to be a human being. Now, the United States, which is the country that I was born into and still live in, and I don't say this in any way to be chauvinistic about it, but it is a fact. 250 years ago, in 1776, just as this began to change, the United States was founded on a very unusual principle for the time, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Nowadays, we more or less take that for granted, but it was an absolute revolution when it came. Because all of a sudden, we're not thinking, you have dark skin, you have light skin, you speak Swedish, you speak German, you live in the Swiss Alps, you live in the desert, therefore you're all different. You're a Christian, you're a Jew, therefore you're all different. Because the age of matter, it can't blend. I stand here on this, I can't go through this stage, because in the age of matter, things are separate. But now we understand that everyone in their own heart wants the same things, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Because whatever we look like, wherever we live, we're all the same. You see what a revolution that is? So what we see happening now, and what this festival is an example of, and what everybody speaking is talking about, is trying to find the way to grab that energy and manifest it in some way that is consistent with this new understanding, instead of just repeating everything that was true when we were going through Kali Yuga and all the dark time that came before. Now, one of the odd evidences of this circular pattern, I'll give you one, which is the pyramids in Egypt. There was an American movie made in which hundreds of Jewish slaves were by ropes pulled all those rocks up and stuck them in place. It was good drama, but bad understanding of reality. Everyone has read or heard and knows that there's just something extraordinarily mysterious and inexplicable about that because we've lost the technology. One of the assertions of how it was really done is that they moved heavy objects with the power of sound, that they understood that. Now, that seems a little more than we know now, but how many of you who have ever been pregnant have ever had a sonogram? You know what that means? You have a picture of the baby in your womb by sound waves. How many of you ever had a kidney stone removed by getting into a bath and being shot by sound waves? It's all around us. It's just people are beginning to perceive it. They're not really inventing the power of sound. They're beginning to understand the power of sound. And people are beginning to understand the power of cooperation and the power of oneness and the power of kindness. Whereas in lower ages on the planet, you simply couldn't understand that. Now, the trouble is that these transition periods, especially between the age of matter and the age of energy, either going up or coming down, they're very tumultuous. For those of you who've heard of the Mahabharata, which is the great epic of India, or the Bhagavad Gita, which is a chapter from that epic, that was the incarnation of Krishna. And that was a war that just wiped out everything. That was very close to exactly where we are right now, except it was going down. And the forces of matter were coming in to try to take over, and the forces of energy were trying to hold on. But in order to make it work, there had to be an explosion of that conflict. So we're on the other side coming up. Now I have to go back to individual karma. One of the most comforting and also the most annoying facts about that which is that we are all children of the same divine force, and we're all equally loved by God, whom I like to speak of as my divine mother, not because I'm in a female body and I want to assert my side of the coin, nothing like that. But the divine mother is it's actually what Jesus was referring to when he said, after I am gone, I will send you the comforter. Can you think of a more perfect way to describe an ideal mother than the comforter? When I was about 7, my parents sent me to sleepaway camp. And I was a precocious kid, so even though I was only 7, I had a really great time. But I was younger than most of the kids in the camp. And one of the exercises that they did, was to weave you had these little looms and you had these little stretchy bands. Some of you, I don't know what countries you're from, and if all countries make these little, everybody knows these little rubber bands. You make pot holders to give to your parents. My little fingers, for some reason, I couldn't make any pot holders. Parent night comes. It's parent night, parent visitation. And so we were in bunk beds and we had nails on our bunks, and everybody hung their pot holders on their nails. I didn't have any pot holders, but the girl above me had quite a few. So I took a couple of hers and I just put them on mine, because then I had pot holders too, like that. Of course, she noticed, and she wasn't really very fond of it. So the time comes, and now my parents are there, and I'm just devastated. I'm just so upset about this. And I remember saying, they fell. They fell. I tried to convince them, little children are so ingenuous, they fell. I said like that. In my family, you did not lie. Honesty was an extremely important thing. But here's what's so interesting to me, and I'm talking about Divine Mother. I had very good parents, I have to say. I'm sure my parents must have spoken sternly to me, because to steal and lie was not something I could have gotten away with at the age of 7. But what I actually remember is my mother putting her arms around me and just letting me repeat that they fell over and over. And she just comforted me. And that's what I remember. You know, that was what, more than 70 years ago. And I can still feel that. Everything that happens in this human world is a symbol of higher truths. And we have to use words. There's no divine mother cooking heavenly breakfast for heavenly father up there somewhere. We're just using words to give us a way to experience realities that are actually there, but are too subtle for the words that we use. So one of the realities of human life, one of the principles of Sanatana Dharma is we are all manifestations of the same infinite energy, and that infinite energy is a loving force that is there to help us to increase our awareness until we truly understand what causes suffering, what brings happiness, and that we have the power to make the choice, to make the right choice. That's the karma that we're always working with. So we like to think that God likes some of us better than others, especially the people that are most like us, whatever that us might be. If it's the church that you go to or the race that you have or the culture, we tend to think that God follows our preferences. I mean, isn't that obvious? Why else would he be in charge if he wasn't like me and like you? But in the age of energy, all that gets very confusing because we're all the same. And one of the things that Yogananda brought to the world from the Indian teachings is this idea of Divine Mother, not for the gender specific, but for the comfort that it would bring to us if we want to have a relationship. And everyone is equally loved, and everyone has the same potential for freedom, for greatness, and for joy. And every one of us has the free will to take as long as we want to learn. And the other part of it is we only learn from experience. We can
You
be
are cute.
frightened into pretending we learn. You know, if you think you're going to go to hell for eternity, it disciplines you a little bit in the moment. But we don't really believe it. We're just too afraid. I mean, we don't really know why. We're just being told. That's dogma. We don't feel like that anymore. Now we're asserting our own realities. So we have to have the opportunity to have experience. And there are a great many souls that are firmly convinced that the more power I can get, no matter who I get it from, the more I have, no matter how much it deprives you, that's what's going to make me happy. And so when you're in the astral world, getting ready to pick your next incarnation, the angels and the saints and the masters will help you go to where you need to go to learn what you need to learn next. And because mother loves her children equally, sometimes she loves her naughty children even more. If you need to have that experience, you'll be born into a planetary context that will allow you to have it. That's what we have going on right now. We have a great many people coming up. And again, I refer to the fact that I've traveled so much. I was rather pessimistic about the future, in a sense, before I started traveling. But every country that I've gone to, there is an enormous power of light just coming right up out of the ground like wild mushrooms. It's not being legislated. It's not being run by the government. It's just growing like weeds because consciousness is rising, and a lot of us are here. Simultaneously, a lot of souls that need the lesson of power and greed and violence and many things that we wish weren't going to happen are also on this planet with us. Because at times like this, especially this transition, most of the time humanity is sort of shaped like a cigar. And you have a few good people on this side and a few bad people on this side. And most people just hang out without thinking much about it in the fat middle of it. Times like this, there is no middle. Either you are still holding on to the past and trying to make the future look like the past, which is what many of our politicians and militarists and many, many others, they think that the past is the way things ought to be, and we're going to make it that way with the power of our might. And then on this side, you have those who know that this is the age of rising energy. However, there is a lot of material power on this side of it. And history shows, other cycles have shown, and common sense tells us that there's going to be a collision between these. However, we are rising, and the fact that we're rising means that once the turbulence is over, then there will be a much more enlightened civilization as a whole. Bear in mind, however, the masters say that war continues all the way through Dwapara Yuga. Now, if people can go to war, we're still not that enlightened. You have to realize that. So we're not coming according to this way of understanding. There's no power that we can bring to bear that is going to make the civilization on this planet perfect. However, we can use this opportunity. An opportunity like the one we're in right now is magnificent for our soul development, because we're able to be instruments of light at a time when being an instrument of light is not that easy, or not that popular, or not that well understood. And the other side of that is that we get to work out whatever karma we have of fear and anxiety and distrust of Divine Mother's comforting love. Because that fear, that distrust, that lack of faith, causes us to make decisions that cause us to suffer rather than leading to happiness. So that's what we're working with. That's where we are right now. It will get better. It is getting better. Look around. I've mentioned, I've often mentioned that, well, I was in the New York airport and there was a big sign that said, you know, no smoking anywhere in this airport. And I'm old enough to remember when people smoked everywhere. And whether you like smoking or don't like smoking, but what happened? That people just stopped doing that. And everywhere I go in the world, there are vegan restaurants. And you can buy plant milk. And you can buy plant milk yogurt, you know? But even the vegan restaurant, think about it for a minute. Think compassion for animals, a desire to live in a more healthy way. All those understandings had to come through. And they weren't legislated. They just rose up out of the ground. In the USA, of course, if there's money in it, we'll do it. That's basically our great talent and attitude toward life. So, but in any country where someone is going to open such a restaurant, you have to first, somebody has to want to, then you have to have enough customers to be able to do it. But think of the change that means. Look at us here. The Festival of Consciousness, 10 years ago, who could have even put on such a thing, much less had anybody come? And that's our assignment. Our assignment is to just constantly walk this forward, and in the process, to work out our own karma. Now, my belief and my hope in telling you all of this is not to discourage us, because I don't believe historically or philosophically that we can actually perfect what's going on here, because the age is too low, it's too soon for it to be like that. But we can perfect ourselves, and we can make ourselves powerful in that way. You don't become powerful just by wanting to be so. You become powerful by facing into whatever challenges are in front of us and holding on to what you know to be the right way of thinking and the right way of behaving. If it were easy to love everyone, what would we learn? We would still be small. We always want it to be easy. One of my most interesting observations, and I see it in myself too, everyone thinks it should be different. We just think it should be different. We want this world to be different. The self that identifies with the limitation of being in this one body in this one lifetime and thinks that this is the only reality that there is, good means easy and pleasurable. Think about how many times you've called something good because it was easy and pleasurable. When you use the word karma, bad karma. Bad karma means challenging and difficult. Bad karma means, oh, rats, I have to grow. How annoying. You know, easy and pleasurable means I just get to stay exactly as I am. Why is that good? This is because we're in a rising age of energy. We can't just stay as we were. The energy is moving us. Something else that happens in a rising age, which going back to Jesus for a moment, at the end of Jesus's life, his disciples, there was nothing to do for the society. The society was low consciousness and it was going down. Jesus, they didn't just crucify Jesus. They crucified anybody they didn't like. And they crucified them on the side of the road. I mean, that kind of barbarism is just like horrible to us because in a rising age, we can't imagine that anymore. So anyone in that age who became inspired because Jesus taught the same teachings. He taught Sanatana Dharma. He was a great master. He had the same revelation. And his teachings were absolutely true and could transform and can still transform if you understand it as Jesus really taught it. But there was no point in trying to build a society. So you got to go off to the desert or you got to go off to the monasteries. Sometimes I think that's very attractive to just be able to wash your hands of the whole planet and just concentrate on your own expansion of consciousness. But what's happening in an age like this one is that we have to help bring it in. We have to help bring in the new age. And that's why monasteries are emptying and people are not interested anymore in just taking what they have and going away with it. We want to get engaged. We want to make the world a better place. And the reason we have the inclination to do that is because it challenges our consciousness. It forces us to grow. Our compassion, our kindness, our idealism, our imagination, our creativity gets engaged, and we don't want to quit until we learn how to do it. And what happens in that? We work out our karma. We learn things we didn't know about energy and courage and attunement. So even if this world gets as difficult as Yogananda and many others have predicted, in the obvious ways that you can imagine, earth problems, economic problems, violence, which is already springing up in lots of places. Even if all of that happens, it is what we have to understand. This is exactly where we need to be in order to learn exactly what we need to learn. I often think that whenever those who are trying to make the future look like the past finally get done with whatever they're doing and all the dust settles and all of us are still here, it'll take us, I think, about 5 minutes to create a new society because we already know how. They don't know we're here and they don't think we're very important. They think we're just the lunatic fringe that doesn't matter. We can see them, but they can't see us in the sense that they don't see any importance in us. But their day is past because we're the new idea. Everything happens. You have an idea, you put energy into it, and then it manifests. And so the new ideas are always moving in before those who are holding on to the past know about it. So this is what we're doing, and this is our job. Somewhere in the astral world between our incarnations, our guides pointed out, oh, Earth is going to go through some really exciting changes. I think that would be a good place for you, you know? But here's the other part of it, and this is the last thing I'll say here. The reason difficult times come is to wake people up so that they'll begin to understand that this isn't just about snuggling down and getting my place set and then having it be pleasurable and easy. This incarnation and all incarnations are given to us so that we can grow. And two things happen when we commit ourselves to growth. Well, many things happen. But one of the things that happen when you commit yourself to growing from the inside out, not just acquiring and making it work, but changing our fundamental perception of reality, is that we develop a powerful magnetism of our own. Because there is such a thing as planetary karma and national karma and cultural karma. All that really exists. But it only affects you if you have no self-definition of your own. If you're just floating on the river trying to take the easy way out, then whichever way the river's going, you'll go with. But if you have been working in yourself deeply to develop your own understanding of reality, that creates a force field which makes your karma different. You don't need to be shocked awake. You'll just be able to move as you know you ought to move, no matter what the karma around you is doing. So events like this, the experiences that we have, just bringing our energy to a focus together is much more powerful and important than it may look. Because each one of us then is beginning to, like we're part of a tide. We're part of a tide that's coming in. And the power of that tide is determined entirely by the commitment and the courage and the dedication of each one of us. And we were born for this hour. We were born for this hour. In the Bible, Jesus declares about his crucifixion, I was born for this hour. But the fact of the matter is, every one of us, the hour that we're living in, we've spent incarnations working up to this moment. And whatever is in front of us, to choose the light, to choose the light, to choose the light. That was why we came in at this time, at any time. And so what fun, what joy, what a marvelous time to be living, regardless of the fear or the challenge or the difficulties we may go through, because we'll have that opportunity to build that within ourselves, to choose the light, to choose the light. And when this incarnation ends, whether it ends sooner or later for each one of us, that's all you have. When I was 18, one of the things that put me on the spiritual path was I had this sort of, I had sort of a vision. It was sort of a vision, but not a big, exciting one like that. But I was 18 and I saw myself on my deathbed. I didn't even know anybody who had died at that point, what to speak of being at anybody's deathbed. But I subsequently in my life, because of the community I live in, I have sat with people as they have transitioned, including my own father. But what I realized was when the incarnation was over and I was ready to leave, it didn't matter how many people loved me. And in my expectation, a whole lot of people loved me. I was on my deathbed and there was everything that you would imagine of tons of people who loved me and family like that. I was always very optimistic about my prospects in life. But I could tell, I could feel this again before I even knew that the process of dying was that you just get more and more inside yourself. Just it all begins to fade away. I've since learned all the metaphysics of going into the spine and the Kundalini energy and all those things. I didn't know any of it, but I knew it. We're just goes in like this, and I realized all you have is your consciousness. And this is what all the death and return people tell us. That's all you have. You take off your body just like you take off a suit of clothes, but you are still yourself. Just like when you change into your pajamas at the end of this day, you're not going to be somebody else. You're just going to be you in your pajamas, aren't you? So this is what we are. We're yourself in this body, and you take this body off, and you yourself just goes on, just like all the movies you see now, when the actor falls over and then the actor stands up again and goes off, except that they can go through the walls and all this. It's very true, a lot of that. But you see, that's the job. That's why we're here. That's the increasing awareness. That's Sanatan Dharma. And because this is a tricky business and there's a lot of problems here, oh my goodness, what a lot of good work we can do. And what a lot of fun we can have doing it and do a little good for others along the way. Isn't that wonderful? Don't you think that's wonderful? Okay, I'm going to believe you think that's wonderful. That's all I have to say. Bless you. Okay.
There are going to be many more things that our society is going to be engaged in after open contact than our
So let's continue with 1 minute
Wonder, is that
of heart pumping.
Is that the end of the video?
Huh.
Yes.
Oh,
We watched it right to the end, and because it was on my downloads, it rolled straight into the first 4 seconds of the Bashar video.
oh, okay. And what you saw was Bashar. Sometime
Yeah.
we'll think about that. Okay, please go ahead. Aagia Pal.
So let's continue heart pumping. So that's heart breath and breath of fire, fairly powerfully. And we'll do that for 1 minute. And we'll begin now. Okay, great. So now just continue with heart breath. And for this next minute, drop into your heart center and listen to your divine intelligence and the voice that is speaking to you. And notice who or what is attracted to you or you attracted to as your Healy. So let's just take a minute for this and please begin. And continue with heart breath and focus strongly your third eye energies and direct them to wherever the diamond light beam wants to go. This diamond light may be just a small dot, if you would, laser-like power light dot. And focus that because you are the conduit of this light from the center of the galactic center as well as the center of the universe. So let that focus, and whoever or whatever is your Healy, just let that go towards and focus on your Healy. And if you notice, like sometimes I do, if your forehead is getting tight and uncomfortable, you can just go ahead and into just heart breath only. Let up on that third eye energy. And then, if you will, and if you're, as you're ready, you may go back and focus it a little more powerfully on your Healy. So we'll do this for the next 3 minutes. And here we go now. And please inhale at this auspicious time of 1:11 and exhale. And come back to the room and just continue breathing, heart breath. And now Siri-Gian will lead us for 5 minutes of CNR.
Thank you so much. Okay, 5 minutes, CNR. Consciousness, no reality. Strong heart breath, belly breath, nose, inhale 6 seconds, nose, exhale for 6 seconds from out of your heart center. Complete love. Slide from fear Let go from any of your nasty, difficult, old stuff. Just be peace. No normal reality, no thinking, or no EDS. Be present, but only feel. Just be light and continue. Inhale. And exhale. And continue. Use 2 minutes to become awareness and then understand what happened from EDS. Use your notes. Inhale. Exhale. And breathe. Aagia Pal.
OMG. This was an extraordinary video for me. I didn't know this woman, never heard her, nothing. Okay, I don't even know where to start really, because what she said filled in so many of the blanks for me and polished off my mission. It was like she took a polishing cloth and some silver polish or copper polish, and it just began to polish me and in my heart center. She So, okay, well, first, let me just say, when I went into my Healy with the um, diamond, dynamite diamond, I pictured there were all my Heelys in a circle, and the circle, they were holding hands. And I asked them to all do heart breath together. So they were breathing, everybody's breathing together and forming one heart. And so breathing, forming one heart as they did heart breath. And I was drawn to I guess I can't really specify where in the circle. I wasn't even aware of where. Let me just say that my third eye energies were introduced into the circle. So they circulated, and it's needed more stronger uh, energy for this. And anyway, so I couldn't keep it up very long, but they circulated with the breath around the circle, around this one heart circle. And the message was, we're not individuals, no longer individuals. So when you do the dynamite diamond, you're doing it for a collective, of people, and to remember that. And so that was an awakening for me. And then watching this video brought to light, Heather Ensworth has this book now, The Astrological Ages and the Galactic Center. And she talks about this precessional cycle, this, the way our solar system moves in an elliptical path and so on. And yeah, I could understand parts of it. But now, after listening to this woman speak, it makes it so much clearer. And the fact that, there's there's no center to the cigar, the idea of moving to one end, and I feel like that's the pain, the struggle that I go through now, is moving to the end where consciousness is rising, and so an awareness is becoming clearer and more kind of like more urgent. There's more urgency about it. And also then to recognize that it could be, I'm not sure, don't know, my mission to bring sound and the healing of sound to this circle of folks. And the power, as she mentioned about that, long time in previous ages, I guess, sound was used for healing tremendously. Extreme, unclogging blocks, unbreaking. Yeah, so just smoothing out energies, etc. And then, okay, I'll blame big pharma. I'll blame, in our age, we came to pills, and so sound kind of went out into the back of our thought patterns, and now it's coming back. And there's more people asking me, for, and I do the sound healing around here, and I do it for myself too, in the mornings, and I feel that with heart breath and the sound, I undoubtedly all the time I feel better. So that's that. And yeah, so the mission I have, I think, is being clarified, and my awareness is, getting clearer and more refined. That's it. And as she said, this is no walk in the park here. We're here for the Sanatana Dharma. It's like, I'm here for a reason to work out things, and I'll say, to learn how to be more loving, and and really to appreciate more that I've taken for granted, more that I now see and am grateful for. And I was actually pretty emotional during this video, because she pressed my, she really pressed my buttons. I mean, I really get it now, much better than before. I feel more awake. So I know I'm going on and on. So I'm just gonna, you know, like, she was amazing. She could just keep talking. And I'm thinking, wow, she didn't have any script in front of her. It's just like, she is it. Like she said, she's all that is. And she was present in the moment, and what was coming through her was extremely healing and valuable for me. So I'll just stop now. Thanks for listening.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Okay. Aagia Pal,
Yes.
you see, I got you to make sure you have your instruments
I
to
know. I was
bring
thinking
up
of
the
that.
Arden Woods. Yes.
Yes.
You know,
And that will happen. That will happen. That is happening.
make sure.
And I'm getting more too. That's terrible. I have this thing now with bowls.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, thank you.
Because that is your instrument to bring healing.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Right.
Right.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Gian Dasprem.
Satnam. There was deep peace for me in the meditation um and listening. It's so beautiful to listen to something that I'm familiar with, and through other experiences, the reminders and stages of evolution in my personal journey with the healing, and then also noticing the levels of consciousness that we use at different times for our opinion and choosing directions for our own actions. And that it's just so amazing that we're here as witnesses to be able to have these, teachers with different opinions and whatnot. And for me, it's, having that experience, the appreciation of that, and like thanking the people that are around me for, being with me, and knowing that the extension of the vibration through the voice and through the prayer going on. And it was funny for me today listening to this and then going into the meditation. Sometimes I'm being carried into chant a lot now. So, and then with the timing of some of the breathing, I'm called into chanting, and then having to remind myself of the stillness of this type of meditation that we're in, where we go to sort of release and whatnot. And there was a good amount of clearing there for me, and then looking forward to the vision of things progressing, right, as we go through the cycle. But I came to a point of Japsi, and I think in the Yugas they do at the end of a section, they'll say slok, right? How you come to that point. You're at an end at a changing and you're going into a different section or what have you. So just noticing the stages there within that, and for me, there's a lot of personal things I managed to write down a good amount of things, that I can take with me and also, share at these other times. So it's good to have these channels that we're working with for those of the aware or the unaware. So for me, like it was when I chant, to bring in the happiness code, and then we're noticing how I have dealt with that, with changes of cycles, with the earth, and also with that of myself, that we're part of this ecosystem, right? This part of this equilibrium of sort of a sense of, how the pulsation is happening, right? Through the sound, through the music, and noticing the mention of, stages of life too, as well as how some of us have a memory of the consciousness through trauma and leaving our body in certain situations, and the reminder that it's within us all as we're going through, and the noticing of how we're doing at the present time. And I was shown some cairns, like how I've come to places where it's very peaceful for me to, notice different things and sort of stack objects. And I was just brought to a really peaceful place of noticing a calm waterfall, and looking over that and noticing the cycles of how life and water sort of work together. And for me, it's an ongoing thing. So the chant was Ma, and I was noticing how that was helping me, like to drink in the air is like a spirit, right? And we're sort of doing this in a manner with the seeds too, like, seeds from heaven and whatnot. But for me, it's with the deep healing. There can be some deep digging for that resurrecting type of thing from the seeds within, and moving on from that with the thank you, and noticing, wow, we actually are praying together. There's so many of us now that are in different groups at this time of day throughout the world who are doing amazing things, and I want to just thank you again for that. It's just such a wild trip that we're on, and what we're learning in that center, of every universe is a black hole, right? It's like a mother, right? So it's good that we hear reminders through that of other people and how we're progressing. Just Wahe Guru again, thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to this next listen.
Thank you so much. Okay. So, Harimandir. Please, got it.
As has been said, it was quite a remarkable video, and it was a good one for these times, because what I have been doing is sharing the last one, all about, I don't know, can't think of their names right now, the guy and the woman, the astrologer, and that guy. But that was a little too far out for a lot of people. It was just, it was great, and I shared it. But this one, when I was sharing it, was with all these I get on my phone political asks for money, and I was, before I sent the stop or end and deleted them, I would send them that earlier video. But this one is one that I think people can really relate to, and it's really nice to have the language to explain. It gives a I have to go back and listen and take more and more and more and more notes, but it gives a way to explain to people who are moving into the light consciousness, or whatever you call it, defining the light within them. It gives a linear explanation of the words to help teach them or help share with that. The sound the sound is a big deal these days, and with two people, one who died and one might be in the process of dying, or maybe coming back out of it, just singing to them I love you, for example, without any, what I'm saying is the human voice is a wonderful, is an instrument. It's one of the instruments. My older daughter is a musician who is now has she's has been admitted in Korea. She's the only Caucasian, the only the only non-Korean who has been admitted to the ladder of being a human cultural asset, or like a, what do you call it, for the instrument she plays. And and I've been asking her about frequencies in music, the hertz. And she knows a lot about it because she's in that whole field, but I don't get much. I do we try for this hertz or that hertz? What frequency of music? What sound is most healing? It's a whole. We're seeing a lot of that on information about that on YouTube and stuff. So,
Okay, would you let people know about that instrument? And you can see it in Korea as well as Japan. Go ahead.
and China.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. And tell that what it looks like.
The one that people might be most aware of is the Japanese koto, and it's about a 6-foot long or maybe 5-foot long stringed instrument that has bridges in it. And you see a picture of a geisha kneeling down and playing that instrument. And it
doesn't have bow, right? You use your finger?
Fingers, yes.
Mm-hmm.
In American language, it would be called a zither, but that doesn't really describe it. But a zither would be in the English language. And when she went to China, she said, "Do you have an instrument like this?" Because she learned the Japanese when she was there or after she came back. And they said, "Yes, we invented it. Thank you very much." And then the Korean one is the one she fell into deeply. And it has, from my point, it doesn't have any time signature and it doesn't have any melody. You have to just listen and listen and listen. But it's the traditional, it's the traditional sound out of Korea. And that's the one she just fell into deeply. And go ahead.
Because, of course, I feel that she would be another past lifetime.
She had to be.
Right, right.
And kind of related to that, what I'm seeing on YouTube occasionally. Well, it started in the 60s, but going on down the one world music kind of thing. And it's a woman in Juneau who has been creating concerts in countries that don't sing together, like she was putting together in the Middle East with Christians, Muslims, and Jews all singing together. She was way ahead of her time. This was,
Wow.
and she's doing it in South America, where people are coming together. The point I guess I'm saying, because I'm thinking of this as I'm talking rather than looking at my notes. Music brings the ends together, and what she had found, the woman in Juneau, in the Soviet Union and in the Middle East and in wherever she went, that it's hard to not, it's hard if you're in the vibration of singing, you're together no matter what your politics or color or culture is. So anyway, it's a wonderful, it's a good step. This video is a good stepping point for people opening up and it's, the video is more of a yogic version, but I was delighted to hear Aagia Pal take out of it immediately the music version, which is the vibration. So it's a great stepping stone to put out there that people can understand. It's understandable.
Great. Okay. Thank you. And I want to let you know that this lady, her name is Asha Nayaswami. And the Swami means teacher. Okay. And she has quite a number of videos. Okay, so you can look for them if you want to. Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is Japa Saraswati. Hi, sweets. Oh, Japa.
Satnam.
Satnam.
Okay, so here are my notes. I loved when she said that reality always wins. And also about Snadam Dharma, which means eternal way. So I had then, this is what happened. Okay, this is what happened from the meditation. The rest of the other note that I wrote was that I was born for this hour, and that was about Jesus's last hour of being alive. And right before that, or maybe it was after that, she'd said how much more brutal an age it was that that humanity was in, that there were people crucified right on the side of the road. And I thought about Jesus being just 33 years old in that final hour. And then, at different points in time, the life expectancy being 35 or 45 or 55 or 65, and that the life expectancy keeps going up with modern medicine and nutrition and whatnot. And that like Jesus's final hour was much more compressed into it because like my grandmother, when at the end of her life, she was in a nursing home and she was nonverbal and she couldn't really move for like more than 2 years. So what if that was, and that was when she was 97 or 98 years old. And compared to Jesus's, that was like 1/3 of the age. So her last 2 years stretching out proportionately. So then coming back to the particle accelerator at CERN, because this is what happened when I was doing CNR. And part of that compression or expansion of time. So the particle accelerator at CERN, part of why it was so especially active in the month of June is that the end of June, they closed it down for a number of years when they'll replace all of the magnets inside of it, because there are these magnets that, does anybody know what a magneto is in an engine? It's like this, it's made of magnets and it spins, but it goes like 50% of the way around, 50% of the way around, and it goes back and forth. You know what I mean? And but it works on part of it, to me, part of what I understand about it is about the acting on the polarities of those magnets. And so like in CERN, they have to replace the magnets because after they've done this so many times, especially at such high speeds, they wonder if it's going to get wacky, like it might not perform at the exact same, or so anyway, gyroscopic precession, like when an airplane takes off, for example, especially depending on conditions, you will be able to hear the sound of the propeller breaking the barrier of sound, traveling faster than the speed of sound. The propeller on a regular commercial airplane can move faster than the speed of sound. And this is true for a lot of things, just like the propeller on an airplane is just one example of how that can work, that we see all the time. But this happens inside of like engines and magnetos all the time, but we're just less aware of it. And this particle accelerator at CERN, it's going faster than the speed of light and sound all the time, all the time, all the time when it's working. And there's all kinds of things that we're inventing to go faster and faster and faster that are creating schisms, or like like alternate timelines, alternate realities, just differences, because we are compressing and compacting sound. So sound and light used to be things that traveled at very predictable speeds, and now we have the technology to break the speed of sound, to break the speed of light. And that's just accelerating the karmas of stuff here on earth. And I guess I guess I'm genuinely wondering, what are the effects? Like it would be, I think, really hubris. How am I saying it?
Mm-hmm.
Arrogant. It would be really arrogant to think that people died differently 2,000 years ago to the way that they die now. We all die in the same way, but Jesus's last hour is like a microcosm of what we can see, because we are looking at it under a microscope now, because of that uh vantage that we have. So the lowest common denominator panders to the lowest form of thought. So that's also like part of catching the crowd, is kind of what I want to say, that media is they make it to cater to the lowest common denominator to catch the biggest market share, but it naturally panders to the lowest form of thought. And what I felt is, don't go for things that are going for the lowest common denominator, because it won't help to stretch or expand or deepen our roots in this time where I'm feeling this spinning is going so fast and so strong. Kind of what I was asking Baba was, well, what's the way to go when things are attenuated? This is a really important word, to attenuate. I don't want to get into it right now, but anyway, when things are attenuated in that way of like my grandmother's death for the last 2 years. So for what I felt the message, the remedy of this lowest common denominator sort of is to build the self through practice. Not necessarily through sadhana, but definitely I felt the experience of sadhana. But that magneto, when we do a practice, any practice, like whether it's a kriya, whether it's like a regular Aquarian sadhana, whether it's a yoga asana practice, whether it's chanting, whatever is that practice, when we do that, it's, or even it's the same thing like Aagia Pal. I was thinking about the sadhana of your work life, that you are still tending to your clients,
Yep.
like Wahe Guru, and like that tracing back and forth of this continuation of that practice, of that sadhana, of that building of those deep roots, but I also feel a complexity, a depth, a richness. Um, Tracing back and forth like that magneto is how we build our energetic force and build resilience, because what I'm feeling is that speed of light and sound. What I'm feeling is that it's about to become more disorienting. Oh, so there is on all of us, on each of us on this planet is kind of what I mean to say, or each of us that use an electronic signature. AI, and I don't mean to make this a personal thing, like it's every single person. They're making, the big they, are making files about each of us, telling about the things that we spend our money on, the things that we do with our time, the family bonds that we have, like tremendous, the things that we do and spend our life, our practice, our daily practice. They're making a file on, they're not just making, there is a file on each and every one of us that may even include like our pictures and very specific information about us, so that we can be marketed to better. And that I feel like that is, I have seen it be disorienting with me in my life in the last week, and what I'm saying is that essentially to deepen and broaden the energetic force through sadhana. Anyway, I think that's about it.
Okay. And I just want to ask you, with that magneto,
Mhm.
does that have anything to do with MRI?
Oh yeah, there are those yeah, they use this there are all kinds of different applications. Yes, there are magnetos in a lot of engines. Like there are, in fact, I think of the heart as a magneto. And oh, so I sent to the text message. It's Long Ekong car season, which
Oh,
was always my favorite. Remember when
yeah.
everybody used to do Langak on cars before Yogi Bhajan's birthday? And this was like my favorite thing. In my opinion, I feel that Yogi Bhajan invented and made up Aquarian sadhana for his own reasons. And before that, before he invented that, was Long Ek on cars. That's a practice that the Sikhs used to do before Yogi Bhajan got involved with being the Mahan Tantric. And I just connected so deeply with Long Ek on cars that like I would take the opportunity to do Long Ek on cars in the summer and wake up and just do it. And I've actually been feeling, do you remember this story about Yogi Bhajan was traveling through Canada with his bodyguard it's winter time, and somehow they're going across like an ice plane, and they run out of gas, and they're hours and hours and hours away from any place. And his driver was a military trained guy. And so he starts, doing exercises to try to keep warm, because he says, okay, we're going to have to be out here for, a long ass time until somebody comes to even find us. I think this is in the 70s. And Yogi Bhajan sat in the car and did long X. And within a very short period of time, like under an hour, this road that had no other cars on it, completely 100% deserted, a fuel truck came. And the guy sees them from a long way off and sees that they're out of gas, and with the fuel truck, and puts his tank, plugs his fuel pump into their from his tanker to Yogi Bhajan's car gas tank, and fills up the car, and the guys were able to go on. I want to say it was a ridiculously short period of time, like 20 minutes, 45 minutes. And I've been feeling particularly lost myself these days, and I've been called to do long ek on cars. But I sent to our text message, maybe I can share it. How do I do this? Oh, I go from here. Start share screen, start broadcast. And here.
Yeah.
So you see, do you recognize this? Yeah.
Yes, of course.
And yeah. And so you see here, Sat for the Golden Age, Treta for the Silver Age, Dopar for the Copper Age, and Kali for the Steel Age. And then we have these two wheels of creation. So this top one is the creator cosmic energy, which represents prana. And on the bottom wheel is creation and apana. And I've been feeling like, so I've been meditating about this, and ego eradicator, but not just ego eradicator. This is why I got the message from today. But when we do rhythmic breath, what I feel is you've got the diaphragm, which is in the middle of these two wheels. So it's like balancing the upper and lower triangles. And it's that same way that the magneto moves these things, is to move this energy up and down the central channel, even on just a subtle level. Like even if you don't take it very deep, you're still doing it with. And I felt it so strongly with the long ek on cars. And I'd kind of wanted to share this poster with you guys like last week, and it wasn't really related. And then this one was just, so I sent this to the text messages. But the magnetos are in all kinds of things, and I don't know specifically with the MRI machine, but they're used in like a lot of machines and engines.
Good. Thank you very much. Oh, and do you remember Yogi Bhajan's birthday? Was that August 15th?
I think it's the 26th.
Okay.
I think it's the 26th.
Okay. Good.
Can I say this, that I'm having, among other things, I'm having daddy issues right now. So my father's birthday is August 24th, and I haven't talked to my father in more than 15 years, and I'm comfortable with it like that. And now my mother is like brokering a thing with my father, and I'm having all kinds of angst and anxiety about it.
Okay.
On a multitude of levels.
Okay. Use heart breath and use dynamite diamond. Be sure to use those two things.
Okay.
Okay. And let's see what happens. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to let from me what I found. And I was so surprised because, first of all, I sort of heard it was about the world and from like worm thingies. And then I found out these are mythical things are coming up from the ground. And like Aagia Pal about Heather Ensworth,
Yeah.
it's about all those mythical things.
Yeah.
And I said, well, why? Or where does it come from? And it happens from human images for years and centuries together, and was held together with all of, how can I say, with humanity, and then continue with healing. Okay. And then what happens, it changes. It changes with, you might call it, the old things were like dragons and monsters and so, and I went, oh, yikes. I can't ever think of those, like demons and all of that stuff. And it's changing. It's changing that it's coming out the ground. And then when that changes, we come into more, it's like happy and fun, happy, mythical things. You know, like I saw Asha said about something, her her teacher was talking something about mermaids, and I said, what? Anyway, things like that, and trolls and centaurs and fairies and so on, because that changes us to happiness, and it'll be fun. And it's very strong within the whole earth and with us. And as we can hear and know about like leprechauns and things like that, they would very deep and very light with mythical, we call it mythical, and I'm not exactly sure we usually call mythical, but maybe that's the new truth. So that's what's happening. That's what I found about. And to keep up, to heal that. Okay. So there you go. Anything else? Okay. So things are changing, right? Remember, no reality? Wow, this is no reality. Okay. So I love all of you. Isn't this amazing? Okay. So let's see. Aagia Pal, can you sing us with a song?
Sure. Yep. All right. Thank you, everybody. This was awesome. So let's inhale deeply and exhale slowly. Just feeling deep gratitude. And inhale to begin. May the long time sun shine
Shine upon you.
all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide
Guide your
way
way
on,
on.
guide
Guide your way
on, guide
Guide your
your way on.
Inhale. So
no.
feel your love. Know who you are. You are love. And you are collective as love.
Love.
That's it. Love.
My goodness.
Love you all.
Okay. Sat Nam.
Bye,